Round 13 in the NRL this week, and here I am with NRL legend Dale Rowdy Shearer. How are you, Rowdy?
Top of the world, thanks, Matty, and a big hello to everybody else out there.
Mate, it's certainly been a season to remember. In all your time playing, can you remember a season like we've had this year?
No, not anywhere close, mate. Not anywhere close, and hopefully never again. I hope it's a terrible thing that's going on not only in Australia, the world, but let's hope we all get through this and go on to bigger and better things.
Mate, we're going to talk about round 13 tips, but first of all, I'm interested. State of origin, end of season. You've played many games for Queensland, one of Queensland's greatest. How do you feel about state of origin at the end of the season?
Yeah, I should be fit enough by then, mate. Kevy, you listening?
I reckon Kevy would have you.
It's different, but it'll be very interesting. But I think the beauty of it is that, unfortunately, some of the guys do get injured back in the club footy, and hopefully all going well. Well, obviously, it's only the Origin game they risk, but, there's a lot of players that missed the whole Origin series, but hopefully by then, it'll be a run of luck for most of them.
And that's the thing, isn't it? And you've then got to factor in injuries that may happen throughout the whole season, whereas normally, around May, not as many people are injured by that stage. No,
that's true, mate. I was sort of thinking the other way, that hopefully they're injury free by the end of the season, and they can hopefully play the whole 3 games. Yeah, I think it'll be very interesting, especially if they keep them tight, because you're not having the 2 or 3 weeks in between, and it'll be much the same teams, and it's just interesting with Origin how just a call or bounce of the ball can make the biggest difference. And really, even when we won that series for so many years in a row, there wasn't many points in it, and a lot of those series were still only 2-1. It looks like we're really, really dominated, but overall points-wise, it was very, very close.
12 rounds so far in a shortened season. Who are you liking this about halfway point through the year?
I mentioned in my little report I do that the Panthers, that there's a lot of talk about them last year, how strong they're going to be, and then they just faded in the end. But they've been very consistent this year and deserve to be at the top of the table. I was just looking at the points for and against. Once again, the Storm, who just seem to produce every year. They get injuries and players leave, but they always seem to be finding someone good enough to substitute them. Their for and against, I believe, is still the best in the comp. And then you've got the likes of the Roosters, who everyone said they're going to win back-to-back, but I think they're currently sitting about 4th, and they've been really struggling lately. And I noticed they dropped their halfback Flanagan. They struggled against the Gold Coast, I think it was, and then they struggled against the Warriors, and they lost the game before that. So
and no Cameron Smith this week against the Bulldogs.
Beg your pardon?
And no Cameron Smith this week either, which should be tough for him.
Yeah, well, he's just had the. I think I played just as many seasons as him, but unfortunately, I had so many fractures, and I would have loved to have had a run like his, but. He's getting towards the end of his career, and maybe it might be slightly catching up, but he just seems to Mr. Durable and never gets injured. And good luck to him with the run he's had and the records he's set. It's just an amazing record that I don't think will ever be broken.
Based on the Sunshine Coast too for the Storm, it looks like it's helping them out, the sunshine and the ocean water.
Yeah, it always does, hey, beautiful Queensland.
It works for you, Rowdy, anyway.
I'm living and loving it. Just stuck down the road, but it's turned around because they were supporting the Sunny Coast league there a few years back, and it's a good home base for them, especially with what's going on in Victoria, and no doubt they've already got plenty of support. Unfortunately, with this COVID thing, they've cut the crowds back this weekend, but I'm very confident Sunny Coast will be really happy with what's going on, and as I say, plenty of support behind them from the local area.
Oh, for sure. Speaking of the coast, the Storm have a game this week against the Bulldogs. Let's get into the footy tips, Rowdy. With big thanks to the sponsors, Create, Advice, and Simply Solar, mate. Starting with tonight's game, Dragons Roosters. Who you liking there, Rowdy?
Yeah, we just touched on the Roosters. Flanagan's been dropped, and so they're probably aware of it. They've only scraped home against two of the bottom teams the last 2 weeks, and they lost the previous to the Raiders. So they're certainly going to have to lift on that, especially after all the talk about back-to-back premierships. And the Dragons have been a bit unlucky. They got ripped off there once again. The old video ref let them down. That was 1,000% a try, and they would have beat Cronulla. And they've been thereabouts, but they've just been letting too many points in. And it's time for the Roosters to start stepping back up.
Dragons looked great last week. I think there was 16-0 at one point, and to lose that game must have been really tough for them.
Yeah. Well, that was the case, and the week before too. I mean, they had 2 tries that, in the last few minutes against Cronulla that they scored on the dead ball line. So, as I was saying, they've had a little bit of bad luck, and they're scoring plenty and got a lot of confidence going at the moment. And it'll be an interesting place because the Roosters certainly have to improve in the last couple of weeks.
Let's move on to Friday. First game tomorrow night is your beloved Manly versus the Warriors. Who are you liking there?
Yeah, it's a Manly. I've let a few people down. The old heart got in the way last week. And they had 1-2 in a row. They had been struggling. And they're certainly, if you look on their points, they're really struggling to score some points. And they've got a very good record over the Warriors, and they've played a lot of the Manly home games over in New Zealand, and they had a long winning streak over there against the Warriors, which is unbelievable because even though it was a Manly home game, Warriors, it's in New Zealand, but they're very hot and cold at the moment, the Warriors. But, they're unlucky the other week against the Roosters, so they put in some good efforts, just not for the whole game. But, can't sit on the fence. Go with the heart again.
Go Manly.
They've just got to score some points, Manly. They've got to start scoring. The defence is pretty solid, but they've got to start scoring some points. From
a former great Manly fullback to the current one in Tom Travojevic, are they missing him, do you think?
Oh, 1,000%, mate. He's always sort of on the spot and backing up, and he works well, not only with Dale Shearer Evans, with his brother there, Jake. So he'll be a huge bonus when he comes back, and they're down a couple of other key players too.
The second Friday night game, the real clash, I guess, is the coaches in Wayne Bennett and Anthony Seibold, the Rabbits and the Bronx. What are you feeling there?
Well, I did touch on the Bronx. I think, I thought they were home and hosed last week. We actually turned it off with so long to go. I thought, they're got this one in the bag, but woke up in the morning and found out they're getting towed up by 10 12 points. So it was quite funny. But I did touch on that where they're going to have to lift again. And I just don't know whether they got that in them. But, back to the coaches, I mean, their Broncos coach will be willing them on big time against Bennett. But I don't think the Rabbits have been playing as well as they can. I just kept thinking they're going to play better, but they really haven't. I think they're just at a level, unless they really lift, they're not going to really be threatening anyone for the premiership. But based on the Broncos' defence, it's the worst in the league, I think. I can't pick them. I've gone the Bunnies.
Just on that, in the Dragons Bunnies game last week, Cody Walker really changed that game. As I said, the Dragons were up 3 tries to nothing, and it was only through a bit of Cody Walker brilliance that they really turned it around. Do you think it'll be a close one tomorrow night, Rabbits Bronx?
No, I've gone the Rabbits 13 plus. There was a bit of talk, as you mentioned there, with Cody Walker, because Reynolds got injured, and when he went off, it actually changed the whole game. And maybe he got more dominant or more involved in the game, and a lot of people have been talking about, whether he should maybe stay in that position. But they've got a fair attacking potency down in the backs, and that's what I've touched on. Yeah, there's a lot of young blokes there, and you read the Courier Mail every day how everyone's going to step up for the Broncos, and they've got all these new players coming through, but they're just lacking experience and maybe a bit of heart. Maybe the money's
Well, I'm
got
interested.
their head on
I'm interested in your take there, Rowdy. Obviously, you spent time at the Broncos. What is it that's letting them down at the moment?
Mate, like the coach, he did a great job in the Q Cup, and then he took the Rabbits. I think they made the finals there last year. So I don't know. You wouldn't like to think that how come all of a sudden he can't coach. I don't know whether it's these younger players and money, and that's all they seem to be worrying about. I really can't put my finger on it, but we back in the day, a lot of it was incentives. If you played 5 first grade games, you'd get 10 grand. If you played 10, you'd get another 10 grand. And these days, and you had to win, obviously. These days, it's just 20, 30, 40 grand every weekend. Just turn up.
Turn up. Put the jersey on.
Yes. Grab the jersey and walk in the dressing room. Where's my 20 grand? Thanks for coming.
Are they missing a passionate older player like a Dale Shearer or Gordy Tallis or someone like that?
You notice when they're in the huddle that's the couple of those and Darius is included. As great a player as he has been, with all his experience, he should be getting in amongst it. Even though he might not be captain, he should be getting in there and just making it very heard and welcome about the game, the situation, and lifting him up. Everyone just seems to be standing around by themselves, and no one's really, after someone scores a try, getting in there and making that effort to say, come on, guys, let's get this going. We can bounce back. We just need, we haven't had the ball fight, whatever it may be. Just anything to just give them a boost. But you're watching behind the line after someone scored, and they're all individuals.
Here's hoping Friday night they can turn it around. Saturday, first game, we spoke about it already at Sunshine Coast Stadium, the Storm and the Bulldogs. Now, I personally think this will be closer than a lot of people are suggesting. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so too. The Bulldogs have got a really strong history against the Storm, and it is still an away game for them. But to play Storm in Melbourne, it's even more difficult. So it may help the Bulldogs. And the beauty for them is, like I touched on, the Bulldogs are worse. They just can't seem to score points. As good as their defence is, which has been pretty solid again, but the last couple of weeks they've managed to score about 20 points. And we know against the Storm you're going to at least have to score that. But I don't know. They're just too consistent for me, the Storm.
Even without Smith?
Yeah, well, they've got some key. I can't put my finger on who's the dummy half, but I notice a lot of the time it's shared a bit of workload, and then he goes out to 5'8". Sometimes if there's a half injured, and he's very versatile. But what I'm trying to get at is then that someone else goes in the dummy half. It doesn't seem to affect things that much. Maybe a lack of a kicking game, but some of them halves that go in there have got good kicking games. I think they'll do fine without him.
Talking about the Bulldogs and a new coach halfway through a season, it looks as though sometimes it really works for a team, other times it's the worst thing that can happen. Did you ever have that in your career where a coach was changed halfway through the season?
No, I didn't, but it's amazing how many times that a new coach comes in and all of a sudden the players are 6 foot high and bulletproof, and the 4 weeks before they got beaten 50-0. But I did experience, and no disrespect to Alan Thompson, when Bobby Fulton finished up as A-grade coach, Tomo came through, and because I've been coaching reserve grade for the few years that I was there, I mean, he's a legend and a great bloke. But I just thought, reserve grade coach coaching us now. Maybe it was because Bobby Fulton, I'm telling you, he's still the best coach I ever had. He was way ahead of his time. way ahead of his time. He's a very clever man, and I've learned so much from him that I never experienced with any other coach in the rest of my career, and maybe it was something to do with that. And it's something I've heard some of the NRL commentators remark about, that, you know, a reserve grade coach coming through, what we're just touching on, do they have the same sort of respect? Yeah, I only experienced it. It wasn't mid-season. And to me, I don't know, it's all about the coach as an individual too, I suppose.
It's high accolades for Bozo, given some of the coaches you had over your career, that's for sure. Second game Saturday, Knights v Tigers. Benji on his 250th game. You think he'll have a big one?
Yeah, well, you know, he's been in and out of the team, but every time he does play, he seems to produce the goods. My main concern for the Knights is, you know, Blake Green, who the Warriors have let go. You know, obviously he played at Manly, I believe, and so I noticed him there, and unfortunately he never seems to play what's in front of him. He just goes through the plays and the patterns and just offloads or dummies or whatever the play's supposed to be, instead of reading what the defence is doing. So that's a concern for me, but you'd think the Knights at home can come up with a win there.
Knights at home. I'm noticing a lot of home teams here, Rowdy. Do you just for you personally, did you find that it was always easy to play at home?
I just think through history, and it's funny you mention it, because it's something. It was when my pop was around. I used to sit and watch the soccer with him, and in England, and you really noticed just how many home teams. It is a big boost, most definitely. And a lot of them are getting that advantage, which they didn't have earlier with this COVID. But, oh, yeah, there's nothing like. And Brookie was just one of those ovals. I played at the Gold Coast there, the old field, not Seabus, where it's, you know, the crowd's on top of you. It was like the old Lane Park. They're probably three of the better fields I've ever played in my life. And they're just on top of you. And obviously it's your home team. They're very vocal, and, you know, they're only metres away. So, yeah, I'm a big plus on the home games.
Well, let's hope it works for the Knights on Saturday. Second Saturday game, for me, game of the round, Panthers Raiders.
Yes, mate. There's always been close games between these two. We've already touched on the Panthers, how strong they're going at the moment, both defence and attack. Once again, they are at home. The Raiders were like the Panthers last year. They were thinking big things, and the Raiders were actually probably ripped off. It was a 12-point turnaround in the grand final, so who knows, but they could have easily won that. I don't think they're playing anywhere as well this year. They're down on their attack a bit. So I've stuck with the Panthers. Yeah, as I say, they're at home, and the crowd's probably pretty bloody proud of them at the moment, the way they're going, and they'll get plenty of support there.
I think they've had 7 or 8 in a row, and everyone's talking grand final and Nathan Cleary for Dally M and all this sort of talk. Is it good at about this time of the season to lose a couple of games just to regain focus, would you think?
What do you win, the TikTok award?
I've seen you on social media, Rowdy.
No, I'm not on TikTok. No. But I've seen enough of it on TV.
Right.
Can't dance, so. Lost my train of thought now. Where were we? Mate, well, there was plenty of hype about them last year, Panthers, and they were going strong. They actually started a bit slow, I think, and then had this big burst of wins, and then just faded big time. I think you got to be thereabouts. Well, I know that. I'm really confident. You got to be thereabouts the year before if you're going to be premiership material. I don't know how far they went, even if they end up making it in the finals, because it's like, you know, when you go from club to origins, it's just a whole new level, and there's some players that have just excelled at club level that just weren't able to take that next step, and it's so surprising, and it'll be the same with this. You know, your weekly club games compared to playing in the finals. It's a whole new ball game, a lot more pressure, and it remains to be seen. But at the moment,
they're looking good.
They're on fire. They're on fire. They're looking real good. But you got to remember the Raiders there last year, and they could have easily won that grand final. So they've got the goods. I just think, as I said, they're a little bit down the tack. One thing I have noticed through the history of these, they're not only been close, they've been high-scoring games, which will be very strange this weekend because they're both defensively strong. So it'll be interesting to see if there is a lot of points scored.
They put 40-odd on your Manly, Rowdy, so they're doing all right attacking-wise.
Oh, mate, I wasn't playing. There's a heap of other players.
They needed you out there. Sunday game, Titans-Cowboys. I don't know if this will be all that exciting. What do you think?
I looked through the history of this too. The Titans really lift against the Cowboys at the Goldie, at home. They're at home, so they've got the home ground advantage. And there hasn't been a lot of points between them. 6, 8, 10, 12. So I'm expecting this. Well, the big key here is whether Morgan plays or not. That's what I've touched on in my report. Whether he does return, he has been named, but you never know these days. Coaches just play their little games. They certainly need. I haven't been overly impressed with their halves. There's been a lot of mistakes and basic mistakes between them over the last couple of months. So they need him. They definitely need him at his best, and he really wasn't when he was playing. But I hope he can turn that around for the Cowboys.
Cowboys if Morgan plays.
Yeah, local derby. I hope the Titans get plenty of support there, and their defence is just atrocious.
It seems they've taken a note out of the Broncos book there. And finally, the Sunday afternoon game, Sharks v Eels.
Yeah, the Sharks, they had that very ordinary start too, but they've been on a bit of a roll. And, I can't go past the Eels. They're pretty consistent. They've got blokes left, right and centre there in the backs that can score plenty of tries, And their forwards are pretty rock solid. The Sharks, just too much inconsistency for me at the moment.
Blake Ferguson, New South Wales winger, a great player, no question there, but really struggling to find the try line this year. Do you think about dropping someone like that because they're not scoring tries?
As old school it is, mate, if a lot of people probably don't notice, even at NRL level, most of the time, most people are right-handed, which means they throw right to left. So a lot of the left, that's Sivo scoring tries left, right and centre, and he's on the left wing. And I don't know, as simple as it sounds, a lot of the teams still seem to want to go to the left, and I think it's because they can throw the better balls.
Right to
they're
left.
just used to going, there's so many left-hand wingers scoring plenty of tries. It's so unfortunate over the week. Would have scored definitely one of the best tries.
Would have been a great one.
of the year. So, and broke the Australian high jump record at the same time. So.
Exactly.
But, yeah, you're right. I have to pick the try scorers. And I'm just looking at my sheet. I haven't actually even picked him to score again. So, not again, first or last try. He's way down at the moment. He did get a real good start straight away before the COVID. Maybe he's got a dose of that or something.
All right, well, there you have it. That's the round 13 tips according to Rowdy. Now, mate, you've mentioned your report a couple of times. If people want more information on getting a hold of your footy tips, how can they do that? Yeah,
mate, it's all free. www.itipsports. Just email me, mate. Dale at itipsports, ITIP, sports with an S.com, .info, sorry. Better take two.
Go again.
Dale at itipsports.info.
Fantastic. Mate, thanks for your insights, and here's to a great weekend of footy.
Thanks, mate. Safe weekend to all.